everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Holly. This is She Reads. It is Christmas time and we are getting so close to the end of the year, and I cannot believe how fast this year went. I feel like I literally blinked and the year is over and I hate it. But this has been my first year on BookTube. I started out in March and I have read so much more than I ever intended to. Every year I set my 50 book pledge goal, which is kind of the same as Goodreads, only it's a little bit easier of a website to navigate. I do have a Goodreads account, but I'm hardly ever on it, so I usually just keep track of what I read on a website called 50 book pledge, and you pledge to read 50 books or 100 or whatever, however many books you want to read, and you update your progress as you go. I find it to be a little bit more user friendly than Goodreads. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been using to keep track of my reading. So far, I mean, it's a couple weeks before Christmas and I still have 2 books that I'm pretty sure that I'm going to get through this month. So far, I'm at 52 books, which is the best that I have done in a long time. I know that that's like barely anything compared to a lot of YouTubers, a lot of booktubers. But for me, it's really, really good because the past couple years before that, the most that I had read was 24, and that was a couple years ago. So the year after my son was born, I barely read anything. So I'm really, really happy with my progress. I'm so happy with how much I've read. Read a lot of amazing books this year. And let me just get right on into my topic today, because that leads into today's video, which is the best books that I read in the year 2018. So I tried to narrow it down to only 5 books, but I'm going to throw in an honorable mention in there because it's kind of a different category. A lot of them are thrillers. I tried to choose kind of one from different categories. But yeah, I could only narrow them down to 6. So I'm just going to go with 6. I know that's kind of a weird number, but whatever. Let's just get right on into it. So the first book that we are going to talk about is Fierce Kingdom by Jen Phillips. And this is one of the first books that I read after I started BookTube. I really, really, really enjoyed it. It was a thriller. It's about a mom and she takes her son to the zoo. I think her son is about 4 years old. They go to the zoo and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she hears shots ring out. And it turns out that there's 2 shooters that have gotten loose inside the zoo and they're killing people. They're killing animals. They're just going on this killing spree. And this mother has to try and keep her son safe. Meanwhile, he's a 4-year-old. So he doesn't understand the magnitude of the situation. And also 4-year-olds are not quiet. It was in the late afternoon when she had taken him here. So it was around supper time. So he was starting to get hungry and whiny and cranky. And she had a really hard time, trying to keep him quiet, and they were trying to stay hidden. And basically it just goes through her evening trying to stay away from these murderers and protecting her son. And it was just kept me on the seat of my pants the entire time. This was just a perfect book to get you out of a reading slump or anything like that. I read the very first chapter. I read it right before I was going to bed. I was I'm just going to get started on this book and I'll read 1 chapter of it. No, I ended up staying up 2 or 3 hours reading this book because it just grabs your attention right from the beginning and you cannot put it down. You literally cannot put it down. It was so good. All of these books were so good. They were all 5 out of 5s for me. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed this one. If you were looking for a thriller to help get you out of a reading slump, this is your go-to for sure. The next book that we're going to talk about also got me out of a reading slump, and this is The Cult on Fog Island by Mariette Lindstein. I read this summer. I started reading it while at the lake, and so it kind of had that spooky vibe because this is set on an island surrounded by a lake. I think it's a lake or an ocean. And basically this young woman has just graduated from college. She's trying to escape an abusive relationship, and she ends up finding this cult, for lack of a better word. And it starts off pretty slowly. Well, the writing's not slow, it definitely keeps your attention, but I mean the abuse that she faces starts out slowly. So she moves to this island. She ends up getting a job with this cult, which she doesn't, I mean, there's rumors that it's a cult, but she just believes that it's kind of just this group that has some weird beliefs. And she's offered this amazing opportunity, this wonderful job for a year. So she signs on. And things go downhill from there. The cult leader starts to become more erratic, more dangerous, and he's just very, very scary dude. And they start making all these people do all these weird things, and they're working them 24/7, and they're not getting paid. And it's just all of these classic cult phenomenon symptoms start happening in this book. And it's like basically her escape. The book starts out, kind of foreshadows. It starts out with her trying to escape, and then you go back and you read all about the journey that led her up to this point. So very, very good. Once again, keeps you on the edge of your seat. Highly recommend this one. The next book is Stephanie Garber's Caraval, and my friend Georgia and I did a bestie book talk on this one. We also did one on the second book in the trilogy for Legendary, so I'll link those in the description box down below if you have not seen them. We basically go through absolutely everything to do with the book from start to finish, plot, our thoughts, theories, everything. So I really, really, really enjoyed this one. This one follows two sisters' journeys, Scarlett and Donatella. You don't see much of Donatella in this book. The second book is devoted to Donatella, but this first book is devoted to Scarlett. And basically she ends up going to this Caraval. It's like a 5-night mystery sort of game. It's like a whole magical world, and she's basically going to find her sister, and she ends up playing the game of Caraval while trying to find her sister. It's so good. The world that Stephanie Garber created in this is just amazing. Like it's descriptive without being overly descriptive. Like you can just get this whole world that she's trying to build, and it's just so magical, and you just feel like you can just feel the magic in the air when you're reading this, and she's just painted such a lovely picture of this game and what this world looks like. And even just following this character, it's also such a character-driven story because, you know, Scarlett just starts out so sheltered, and she's scared, and she just doesn't want to do anything wrong because she comes from an abusive father, and she's just trying to find her sister and get the hell out of Dodge, and just like wants her sister to be okay. But she really grows throughout this journey into a person that she wouldn't even recognize by the end of it. So this one, once again, 5 out of 5. If you haven't picked this up already, what are you even doing with your life? I don't know. Next, we have AJ Finn's The Woman in the Window. And as I'm going through these, I'm realizing, because in the beginning I said I tried to pick a different book from different genres, but I didn't. I picked a lot of thrillers. I guess we know what I really truly love to read. But yeah, this one was really, really good as well. A lot of people have been talking about this on BookTube, but basically this is the journey of an agoraphobic woman who is trapped in her home, and she sees something happen with her new neighbors next door. She's basically just been trapped in her home, and she kind of just spies on people as her form of entertainment. And she ends up spying on her neighbors, and she sees something very scary happening in a home across the street. It goes on kind of her trying to bring this person to justice. Basically, she thinks she's seen a murder, and everybody in her life is telling her that she's crazy. She hasn't seen what she thinks she saw. Without giving too much away, I don't want to, like I said, give too much away, but I did do a book review for this book as well. I will once again link that in the description box below if you want to find out more about it. I did a spoiler-free version in the beginning, and then I will let you know in the video where it turns into spoilery version if you have not read this one yet. So the next two books are actually audiobooks that I'm going to talk about, and I do not have the physical copies with me, so I'm going to try and figure out. I'm horrible at editing. I don't know any of that stuff, but I'm going to try to figure out how to put a picture of the book, like right here. I don't know. If I don't do that, it means I couldn't figure it out, and I'm sorry. But the first book that we're going to talk about is City of Saints and Thieves by Melanie C. Anderson, and I absolutely loved this book. It was something kind of different than I would normally read. Basically, it's about a young girl who is living on the streets. She's part of a gang. She witnessed her mother's murder years and years before, and she ran away from the situation that she was in and ended up living on the streets in this gang. She thinks she knows who's responsible for her mother's murder, so with the help of her gang, I guess, for lack of a better word, she sets out to enact some revenge on this man. So it follows that situation, and it's a very, very, very well done book. It's very character driven. I absolutely loved it. It was something different, like I said, than what I would typically read. And it's just such a strong female lead, which we need more of in today's literature. Like, such a strong female lead. I absolutely love this character. And the last book that we are going to talk about, which is definitely different than any of the other ones that I covered here today, is The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. And this one was so cool. It was something so different. It's kind of like in the self-help genre, but basically Shonda Rhimes, she was the writer for Grey's Anatomy, as well as what other shows? A couple of other like really hit shows, but I mean Grey's Anatomy, that's a huge one. So she was the writer for that. And this goes through a year of her deciding to say yes to absolutely everything, because she kind of realizes that she's just been like working, and that's all her life has been consisting of, is just work. Very introverted. She doesn't really like to go out and do a lot of like Hollywood things. She's overweight. She's just kind of like, she just wants to be in her own little bubble, you know, write her shows, and that's it. And she's just found her world has become very closed off. So out of nowhere, she decides that she's going to say yes to absolutely everything that is asked of her for the next year. And it shows how her world completely transforms over this year, and she becomes a completely different person. So I really, really enjoyed it. It definitely like helped get me in a mind frame of like, you know, self-awareness and change and growth. So I definitely recommend that one. If you're looking for, that would be a perfect one for like a New Year's resolution type of book to be reading. Well, you guys, those are the 6 best books that I read this year, in the year of 2018. Once again, I cannot believe that this year is almost over. It's just, I just feel like it has snuck up on me so much. But I definitely read some really great books this year, and I would love to know in the comments down below what good books you read this year. Are any of your favorites the same favorites that I had? Let me know what I should be picking up for next year. I hope you guys are having an awesome holiday season, and I'm still going to have a few more videos coming out here before the end of the year, but I definitely wanted to get this one out because this one's just kind of a fun video, kind of recapping my year of reading. I hope you guys are having an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.